As a Mexican American, Eddie Sotelo is trying to embrace part of his culture, even if it means putting himself on blast for having trouble keeping up with Spanish lyrics.
I do speak Spanish. I just don't speak it well.
As Latinos, Eddie and his uncle, Edgar, felt like it was important to serve their communities.
Here we go.
The pair host the Showboy Show, airing on radio stations across the country and serving a growing population of bilingual Hispanics. Edgar says the show is like a family house party.
Those house parties in Latin culture, you'll see that as Latinos, sometimes some conversations will be happening in English, others in Spanish.
It's reality in many Hispanic households, being raised by Spanish-speaking parents, but not speaking the language fluently.
Man, it is a blessing.
Come on, Bess.
To be bicultural, tricultural.
That's the case for Eddie, and he's making it known, all while poking fun at his situation.
The listeners were clowning on me or were hating on me, saying like, I can't believe this kid is, labels himself as a Mexican, but he doesn't know how to speak Spanish. He's a no sabo, he's a pocho, he has a nopal on his face, which means I look Hispanic, but don't know how to speak Spanish.
Humor has been a way for Eddie to embrace his bicultural identity and normalize not speaking fluent Spanish. This conversation can be embarrassing, difficult, and even painful for some.
This makes me teary as well. I adored my grandmother, and we had very superficial conversations. And I never got to have one of those real deep conversations with her. And I missed that, I missed that window. My grandmother was 15, she was 14 when they got married.
Micaela Moro's grandparents came from Mexico, but her dad was raised in Anaheim, an area that has a dark history with Spanish. By 1921, 26 states, including California, had banned teaching Spanish in schools as part of a growing anti-Mexican sentiment that peaked in the 1930s with the repatriation of thousands of Mexican Americans. The LA area was especially affected.
He was actually beat by teachers for speaking English when nobody in his home spoke English. He didn't know it when he started kindergarten. And he faced issues around town. My father was very dark-skinned, and he was not allowed to do some things that lighter-skinned people are able to do.
Because of this, Moro says her family lost their native language because of assimilation.
Well, it just makes me really sad.
Like so many in her shoes, Moro is now reclaiming her history with the goal of being a fluent Spanish speaker, embracing her heritage. She signed up for a class at Casa de Español.
And I just know, my family is very proud. I will be able to continue to make them proud, and I look forward to the day where I can just hold a conversation and not have to think about what I'm saying anymore.
This resonates for Chris Martinez.
It's something that's kind of like sad, but also at the same time makes you feel like you're not alone. And sorry, it kind of makes me a little...
Raised in Arkansas, Martinez says his parents didn't find a need to teach him Spanish. As a kid, he quickly realized he looked different than his peers.
I was very aware of the fact that I was, Hispanic and not, white like everyone else and everything. And so it's a little tougher for me.
In 2020, he began reflecting more on his identity.
There was a big shift in America as far as race and everything goes, and I started to realize that a lot of my personality was based off of just pushing down feelings of being proud of my culture just for the sake of fitting in.
Last year, Martinez moved to Sacramento and decided to take action to reclaim his heritage. He started taking classes at Casa de Español.
I'm still struggling with to get through that kind of almost imposter syndrome of getting in touch with who I am. And but I'd say now I feel more empowered to do so, and I do feel more connected to the community, the culture, and everything that comes with that.
It's a goal Maria Harrington has been helping people reach since 2011 as the owner and director of Casa de Español.
It's really important that they get the full immersive experience, because when they go out into the world, they're not going to be able to have me there translating everything for them.
Aquí en la escuela.
This is Harrington's basic Spanish class.
About 25% of our students are trying to reconnect with their heritage in some way.
Like Martinez and Moro, Harrington says she's here to help her students rediscover their cultures. It's something she says she's had to do at one point in her life.
When I started kindergarten, one of my principals told me that if I continued to speak Spanish, that I would never be a true American. And so I stopped speaking Spanish for many years.
Like many, Harrington found herself not being able to identify as an American or with her native heritage.
You're not only shamed being like multicultural, you're not only shamed by one side because you do speak it or because you like certain things from your heritage, but then you're shamed from because your heritage doesn't see you as being enough because you're from the United States.
Because it can be an emotional process for her students, Harrington says she has a specific approach to teaching.
You're here to learn, we're all here to learn, there's no pressure, there's no panic, and you're gonna be successful. And everyone here is gonna be successful. Students start off with an A+ 4.0.
Through this rediscovery process, we've seen it cause pain and also joy. But what's clear is it's opening the door for a new experience and cultural conversation.
You can't make the experience disappear, but hopefully by seeing that it's changing and the future looks positive, that it's a way for us to heal. And I think that's happening.
Despite the racist past, humor will always be a part of how some reconnect with their roots.
Don't feel ashamed. Have fun, you know, and just keep on practicing your Spanish. And if you mess up, it's okay.
Instead of helping them, familia, we're actually making them hate the country that their family comes from. Yeah. Porque no lo están aceptando. And the reality is that if you are first, second, third, fourth generation Latino que